Welcome to the Dr. Remina Panjwani Show, where we're optimizing wellness together. I am your host, Dr. Remina. On today's episode, I sit down with Dr. Guitta Harb, who came from humble beginnings and is now a successful cosmetic dentist and wellness advocate. Join us for an honest conversation about the intersection of health, wellness, and challenges of burnout in healthcare. Welcome back again to an amazing episode. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Dr. Guitta Harb, and she has such an amazing story, lots of fun-packed information, and just a story to definitely listen to. So let's jump in. Thank you, Dr. Guitta, for being here. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for having this happen because we've tried so long to schedule this, but I'm so happy it worked out. Thank you for being here. How are you?
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here. I know we've been trying for a few months and we're finally here. We're both very busy. So yes, I'm super excited to be here and to chat with you. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. So a little bit of how Dr. Guitta and I met. We actually met in August when I co-hosted Igniting Humanity Through Health and Wellness. And little did we know this was going to be a friendship and a collaboration that we're going to go help many people with. So, you know, I like to always start off with learning about everyone's journey because it's not an easy route to get to where you are to be successful. And every day is a challenge too, right? To get to the next step. So tell us how you started your journey, how it shaped you, and how you got to where you are today.
Oh my gosh, it's a long story, but I think we have a little bit of time, right? Well, I grew up in Beirut, Lebanon, and I grew up during the Civil War, and I was there for about 14 years. So actually throughout my entire childhood, I went through I don't know, probably 5 wars, I think, I want to say, something like that. So it was off and on, different wars with different countries and all of that. And it was pretty traumatizing, I think, growing up in that environment. And eventually we ended up coming here to the States and we stayed here. I was 14 at the time and I had skipped 4 years of high school, ended up in college at 14 and a half. Graduated college at about 17 and went on to dental school to become a dentist. So it was quite a bit of an interesting journey because I had to learn a new language. I had to learn a new culture. And then leaving Lebanon wasn't kind of like we planned on it. We just sort of got up and left and left a lot of, friends and family, left in the middle of middle school at the time, and just kind of abruptly came here and just had to start a brand new life, learn a third language and make new friends and learn a new culture. So it was definitely a challenge. But I think that, with that being said, it taught me so much. It taught me to be resilient. It taught me to overcome, so many things. And it taught me to be strong mentally and physically as well, obviously. And so I became a dentist and eventually moved to California from the East Coast and established my own office and my own practice where I do cosmetic dentistry. And after a few years of doing dentistry, I felt like I was getting burnt out a lot because of, running a practice and employees and, treating patients all day long. You get burned out at some point. And so I had at one point kind of collapsed really physically and mentally. And I had to kind of dig deep and figure out, why is this happening to me? I thought I had a good life, the house, the husband, the kids, the practice, the car, the vacations. But deep down, I was just kind of running on this hamster wheel and not really taking the time for self-care, mental health, or any of that. And so that kind of caught up to me. And that's how I started getting into really digging deep and, getting more into wellness and health and working out and fitness and meditating and making sure I'm sleeping, enough and getting my hours in and all of that stuff. And that kind of took me on a whole other separate journey than medicine. And it just changed my life completely. And I felt completely awoken at that point, because I felt all along I've just been running and running, kind of like, we're robots. We get up in the morning and we run, drop off the kids at school, and we run to work, and we come home and it's dinner and homework and all of that. And I think you don't take the time to really, do things for yourself, and self-care and mental health. And it's so important. And I think if I hadn't really collapsed mentally and physically, I probably would have just kept on going. And so that has been such an important part of my life for the last 4 years, that I have been wanting to impact other people and other professionals and really talk about it and talk about my journey. And so that's kind of how I got here.
Oh my goodness. And that is, in a nutshell, there's so much detail there. So
oh yes, there's a lot of detail.
Definitely. I know you have quite a journey, but what's amazing is the beginning of your childhood, going in through a war zone, escaping a war zone, that set up your mind mentally and physically to be resilient. Yes. But then of course, when you come to the States, it's another mindset. It's the grit and the resilience there. And then you mentioned, of course, how that plays into the burnout phase, right? And the constant go. And the important thing there is, in healthcare, we help other people's, and being a mom, we help other people. We always put other people first. And especially coming from the background that you did, you don't really learn to slow down, because you've endured so much, you survived so much, and to slowly take apart the time to give to yourself. It's a foreign concept until, like you said, something happens to you and it makes you slow down and makes you wake up that there's another way to live.
100%. I think what we, first of all, as mothers, we're never really taught to take care of ourselves. We're taught to do so much for our husbands, our kids, our family. And I felt that if I take the time to, let's say, work out, or if I take the time to go get a massage, or to go to a spa, or even sometimes to go on my own for a walk, I would feel guilt. I mean, believe it or not, I would feel guilt. And I would think, well, oh my gosh, this time I should be spending with my kids. I should be cooking. I should be at their games. I should be doing all of that. And I was always, always the last person. I always thought about myself at the end. And it was just always, making sure the kids are good, the husband is good, the office is good, and the patients. And as you said, being a doctor, I think obviously your entire career is taking care of other people. So you go to work and all you're thinking about, how can I get this person out of pain? What can I do to help this person smile, have a better smile? And, and as you know, being also an entrepreneur and a business owner, you have to take care of your employees. So I kind of took on this role of sort of a mother to everyone, whether it was my patients or my employees, my office, and my kids. And I was always, always the last person. I always took care of myself last. And I think it really just caught up to me in so many different ways. I think the mental aspect of it, caught up to me and started showing in physical aspects. And as you know, as a doctor, a lot of the things that happen to us physically come from things that are mental. So, you get stressed out, you get exhaustion, you get mentally drained, and that starts to show up in your body, whether it's just heart palpitations or, autoimmune disease or whatnot. And all of these things come from really mental health. So, when you're sad or upset or anxious, it's going to somehow show up in your body. But we're not taught to really look for these signs, because we're taught to run, work hard, be a mom, be a doctor, be this. And, especially when I'm a complete perfectionist. So I feel like I think
most of the field is, it's so hard to detach from that.
100%. I'm, and especially because I feel like dentistry, you're working with meticulous things all day. You're working, on a tooth that's inside a small hole, in a small hole, so you're so you're like this all day long, you're concentrating, you're focusing. And I think that also creates so much of, I have to make this perfect and I have to do it right. And So, and on top of it, I'm a perfectionist and I feel guilt if I don't give 110% in anything I do. And I really had to learn the hard way. I mean, it came to a time where I ended up, in a cardiologist's office. I remember you hearing my story. And at that point, I couldn't even put a sentence together because my heart was just constantly having arrhythmias from the stress and the anxiety of working 6 days a week and having a family and a home and a household and everything. And it wasn't until at that point that I realized, okay, something has to change. Something has to give. And I have to take care of myself in order to be a good dentist, in order to be a good wife, and in order to be a good mom. And, sometimes when they say you have to get to your lowest to really change things. And I think that's kind of where it was. Not that I was at my lowest in life. I was, very successful. I was doing great. My office was thriving. I think I was at my lowest in a way that mentally and physically I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't prioritizing self-care. And that's when I realized no, taking the time, an hour in the morning to work out is not being selfish, and I should not feel guilt about it. And I had to reprogram my mind because, also, as a Middle Eastern background too, you are taught to be this perfect little, mom and a wife and everything. And so I felt that I had to cook every night, and I had to, be there for the kids, and I can't go out and I can't enjoy myself. And so there was so many factors that I had to reprogram my brain. And on top of it, I think growing up in a war zone, there was so much chaos that I was used to the chaos and the running around. I think it was, I was always in a flight or fight mode, growing up. And that kind of carried into my adulthood where I was like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And I have to be running around and otherwise it's not good, And so I took that with me because that's kind of how I grew up in this, sort of a constant anxiety, environment. And that's when I had to really slow down and go, no, I need to, really rewire my brain. And it was a lot. It took me a good 3 years to really work on myself and you know how hard it is, your brain is wired in so many things. And I think especially when you grew up with trauma like that, where it's a long-term trauma, it's embedded in your cells. I mean, it's embedded in your body. It's embedded in your mental, in your brain. And so to take that out and sort of reprogram yourself was a very hard thing to do.
Absolutely, completely understand on that. And I think being society, that's part of it too, right? Society expectations, our background, our inner trauma response, everything. And so I believe now it's getting better. It's getting better to have the options to learn that self-care really isn't self-care, right? It gives you the moment, like you mentioned, when you wake up in the morning, you're rewiring your brain, your response, and the habits you create so you can function and actually be present the rest of the day. And I'm sure now you're not as tired or stressed, and you have the tools now. And it's so important.
Yeah. Because I mean, definitely things have gotten so much better and shifted in the right direction. There's always going to be a time, when there's going to be a lot of stress. Like right now, I'm undergoing construction. I have a book, I have a podcast. I still practice dentistry full time and run a full dental cosmetic office. I think it's really just how you react to things. And I think have I had this much going on, let's say 5 years ago, I probably would have 100% collapsed. But because I've learned to really take the time and prioritize things and take the time, even getting up super early. Everyone goes, well, why do you get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning or 5 a.m.? It's because that half an hour that I get to sit with my coffee in the morning and my own thoughts and meditate, it really shapes the entire day for me. Because as before, I used to wake up, let's say 6:45 or 7 and run and get the kids ready and leave the house and get to work. And there was not a moment. Yeah, exactly. There wasn't a moment of self-reflection. There wasn't a moment of, you sit in peace and you really think about your thoughts and your day, or even to think about your to-do list. As of now, I get up and I have that time because once you're up and as you know, you're a mom and you're a doctor, once you get the day going, you've got your patients pulling you, you have your employees going, doctor, then you come home and you have the kids, the second I open up my door, it's like, mom, did you order this? Did you get this? What are we having for dinner? And so there isn't a moment after, 6:45 a.m. that I have to myself. And so that 30 minutes, or an hour and a half in the morning when I'm working out and I'm by myself, I call it self-care, but it's really a necessity. It shouldn't be a luxury. And I think before I used to think of it as a luxury, like, oh, I'm taking that time away from someone else or from someone that needs me to do this. But it should be a necessity. And then I think we need to be teaching, moms and especially professionals and, that work all day and have so much on their plate to really take that time to be alone in your own thoughts, meditate, quiet down a little bit, because that is so important for your mental health. And in return, it's so important for your physical health, because when you're mentally healthy and you're relaxed and you're calm, that really shows in your body as well, and you get sick, less than what you would usually do. It's going to show up. You're going to have, less, chances of stroke or heart disease or even other things such as autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. And so that's really extremely important. So
absolutely. And what is good now is that a lot of times in healthcare and even being caregivers, moms, wives, whatever title that you wear, you're still a person, you're still a human being. And what's amazing is now we can show other doctors, other healthcare workers, other moms, other high functioning people that you could still have anxiety or depression or mental health imbalances. Right. But there's many tools that can help you to rebalance and showing them that it can be done, that there is hope. So I think
100%, because I think we're also, Remina, we're also in such, we're also in a society where it's so easy to throw medication. And not that I'm completely anti-medicine or anti-popping pills. I don't do it, but I feel that we live in a society where it's so easy for doctors are trained to say you're depressed, here's this, you're anxious, here's Xanax, you're this, here's antidepressant. And I think what we're doing as doctors is putting Band-Aid on things. So if somebody's bleeding profusely and you put a Band-Aid on it, it might stop the bleeding for a little bit, but it's not going to fix the cause of the bleeding. And I think doctors here in this country are so trained on popping medicine, obviously, and just writing prescriptions that it's sort of masking things, and people are starting to get used to medication. Whatever you have any issue, okay, I'm gonna take this medication. But really, most diseases come from not eating right, not sleeping enough. Anxiety, all the anxiety and stress causes most of the diseases. So really teaching people on how to take care of yourself from the inside out rather than just, popping a medication. And again, not that I'm against any of that, but there are ways to change things around, whether you start eating, better, where you start working out and fitness and all that. It makes you stronger from the inside out. And that's really what we should be teaching everyone, not just doctors and professionals, but everyone, but especially people that are high, functioning, like high performance people like us, where we're running around all day long and we have so much on our plate and we're always thinking about what is the next thing that we're doing. It's really important to take care of ourselves, physically and through fitness and eating right and all of that, and doing what you're doing, which is all the sound stuff. I mean, when you did that at Montage, I just felt like my whole nervous system was like calm, and it's so funny because now when I go on vacations and I go to resort, we just got back from Turks and Caicos, I went and did like a sound bath. Amazing. And I never used to do those things before, and now I went in, I got a massage, and after the massage I went in for a sound bath. And just, he put the bowls on my body and like on my heart and on my stomach. And it's just amazing how I would have never thought of any of that stuff before. Never. And, now that I'm getting into all that, like, wellness and health and everything, it's just amazing how much it changes you, how much it calms you down. And so, yeah, it's extremely important.
Absolutely.
Extremely important.
Oh, I love to hear that. Absolutely. And it's all science-based. It's just showing people what's out there that can work for you.
Yeah.
A little bit about, you mentioned something that's shocking too, is that while we're on the topic of burnout and like mental health, you mentioned that dentists have the highest suicide rate, one of the highest.
We do.
And it's so sad, because I think if you know that there's another way, not just a bandage approach, that can be feasible in a busy lifestyle, like there's a way. What would you say to anyone who's listening out there, if they're out that point? Like, so what would be your call to action for someone that is really struggling and they feel like everything is out of control, and they're on that verge that they feel like there's no other answers?
Well, I think first of all, I think it's really important to take the time to talk to someone. Definitely. I think making sure that you get help and making sure that you talk to someone is very important, but also really digging deep into what is causing that? What is the main cause of it? And really trying to, whether it's, you're working a lot, or whether it's the stress of the patients, or whether it's just stress of running a business and having employees. Really, you have to take the time. Where, for me, for instance, what really worked for me was restructuring everything. I had to restructure everything. And I think that's really important. But if somebody is on the verge of, depression, anxiety, and all of that, I think the first thing would be to really take the time to sit down and talk to someone. Then I think after that, you really need to restructure, whether it's your office, your practice, your life, and prioritize. And for me, it was really important to sit down and prioritize. What is the most important thing for me? Being a mom was on my top of my list. And I said, well, what do I have to do in order to be a good mom? And also work. Also my office. I was always, before I would be always nervous and going into work and just rushing from patient. And you know how it is when you're working out of, different rooms and you're rushing from patient. You numb one patient, you run into the next one, you do treatment. This one is numb. Now you run into this one, and you're hustling all day. I had to, slow down a little bit, and I had to say, well, what are the procedures that I really enjoy doing? And I started to get into cosmetic dentistry, which makes me very happy. Sometimes you do have to cut certain patients out of your office. And as doctors, we're not taught to say, other patients seek us, but we should also be, they pick us, but we should also be picking our patients. And I think that's a huge thing, where before I felt that I had to take every patient I had to keep, and every patient I had to take. And now it's the opposite. And if a patient comes in for me and I don't feel that there's a connection there, or I feel that that patient is stressing me out in so many different ways, I will actually dismiss the patient from my practice. I will say, you know what, this is not the right practice for you, and I'm not the right doctor. So there are so many things that you could do. Also your employees, dig deep and say, what kind of people I want around me. And for me, it was really important, because before, I would hire anyone. I wasn't really being very picky about, having the right personality or the right people in my office. And I had to learn to, these people are my family now. They're my work family. I'm with them 8 to 9 hours a day. It's really important that I pick the right team, and the right team can break you or make you. And so there are so many decisions on a business aspect, and as well on a personal aspect, that you have to change. But it took me, I had to close my office for a week and really sit down and restructure and say, well, what is it that I need to change in order to have less anxiety, in order not to be, anxious all the time, running around, having heart palpitations. And so I hired a consultant. For me, I hired a consultant at work, and I said, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I need to do. And we sat down together and we really made a list of what is important. Even made a list of the kind of employees that I want in my office. And I had to fire and rehire. And that just made a huge difference. And I would walk into my office every day and be stressed out, because I felt that I was catering to my employees, as really the employee should be catering more to his doctor, and making sure, your assistant is there to help you. The assistant is there to make your day feel better. You're the doctor, you're the one that's in control of everything. And a lot of doctors feel that they're at the beck and call of their employees and their assistant. And really, it should be the other way around. It should be you're hiring a team to make the patient's life easier, to make your life easier, to make the office run smoother. And so before I was afraid to fire someone, and now it's like, this is, it's not going very well. We need to have the right person and the right team. So there's so many different aspects of whether you're a dentist or you're a doctor or whatnot that you could do to restructure. But I would say restructuring was probably the number one thing that worked for me. And again, I had to go back and dig deep into my personal life and restructure certain things too. As before, I used to, wake up and feel guilty, and I'd say to my husband, you go to the gym, you work out, it was all about him. And then I had to restructure and say, you know what? No, you take 3 days, I'll take 3 days. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you get up and you make breakfast. The other days I will get up and make breakfast. As before, I used to do it all the time. And I used to be like, no, he needs to work out so he can feel relaxed. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, what about me? So restructuring, reconfiguring, reprioritizing is so important in so many ways. But, obviously at the beginning, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I think talking to someone, because also as dentists and professionals, we are not taught to discuss anything because of privacy. And we have HIPAA and we have so many things. And you can't go and say, oh my God, this patient said this or this patient did this, or, you're taught to keep things to yourself. But I think it's very important as a doctor to really open up and speak about what's going on in your office, speak about your patients, because that's what you do 8 to 9 hours a day, and it's stressful. So I would say find someone that you trust to talk to, and then really after that, just sit down and restructure your life completely.
Goodness. All good pointers. And it starts with being comfortable, owning your worth, and just taking small steps. It's okay to ask for help, ask for expertise, so you can get to the life you want to be. So
100%. And I think having also another thing that I want to point out is really having someone to look up to and someone to help you, and having a team, whether it's a support group, like let's say if you're a doctor, like a doctor support group, if you're a lawyer, a law support, something where you can, or even sometimes, having a women business group where you can maybe go and chat together and say, this is what I'm experiencing. Have you experienced that before? What did you do to help you? And really learning from other people. Because I was always the type who never asked for help. I never asked for help because I'm a total Aquarius and I can do it all on my own. And, if I have to carry a car on my back, I will do it because I don't want to ask for help. But I really had to learn that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have a mentor. And it's really important to have a mentor. And this is when I started going to seminars and learning about growth and mentoring and all of that. And that's really when I started growing as well. So all these things are very important.
Definitely growth mindset. So important. So as we start wrapping up, this has been such a good conversation. You have a lot of things coming up that you mentioned to me. So share with us, what's next?
Oh my gosh. So I am working on a book that is going to be published in March. So super excited for that. So I've been working really hard. It's been about 8 months. We're in the works. And it's kind of a little bit of a memoir, but / lessons. Something that everyone can take, and learn from it and grow from it. Kind of everything that we've been talking about. It's really about my journey and how I got here, but also a lot of lessons into it. So I'm super excited to get the book out. And I have a coaching program that's coming up soon. It was actually supposed to launch in January, but we pushed it a little bit because we have so much going on. So that's coming soon, and that's going to be on mindset and health and fitness. And,
all important.
And, all of it. And I still have my podcast, which I do on Thursdays. So that's still going. And I do have a product line that's coming up soon. So just working on a whole bunch of stuff. And super excited. And I'm excited to collab with you on a few things as well. So,
oh my goodness. Yes, that's going to be great. So, stay tuned. We are combining forces, taking healing to many people everywhere, a big reach. So stay tuned. And I'm so excited to see all the amazing things you're coming up with. I will definitely link all your contacts, your emails, your Instagram, and your podcast to the show notes so people can find you.
Super excited.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for talking to us, giving some good gems and a little snippet of what's coming next. So excited for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Oh, that was a fun chat, and always fun talking to you. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Have an amazing rest of the day. I can't wait to see you soon.
You too, beautiful. Yes, same here.
If you enjoyed today's show, share with your friends and family, and of course, subscribe. Thank you so much for your support.